Alright guys, today I'm bringing you a legendary item guide in Borderlands 3, and in this video we'll be looking at the Torgue shotgun known as the Flakka. The red text on the weapon reads, Flak the world, and what's special about this weapon is it has a very short range, but when you fire it, it will shoot a barrage of rockets and they'll explode just in front of you. Recently this weapon has been victim to some very harsh nerfing, and it's gone from a magazine size of around 20 to 1, so you can only shoot it once before you have to reload. This weapon is now a post-patch dedicated drop, and thanks to BepsiX for letting me know that Manvark is the enemy that now drops this weapon. Manvark is the legendary hunt on Conrad's Hold, but you'll find if you have a look at the map that the distance between the fast travel on Conrad's Hold and the spawn point of Manvark is actually quite far. This isn't really a problem when you're farming it because there are spawn points much closer to the spawn point of Manvark, but a much faster way of getting into farming Manvark is to first spawn at the Slaughter Shaft. The Slaughter Shaft is an area which has to be discovered, and its travel point is just by where Manvark spawns, so the first time that you're fighting Manvark, you want to dip into here just to discover it, just in case in the future you decide to want to come back and farm Manvark. Discovering Slaughter Shaft means you can fast travel to the Slaughter Shaft and then use the travel point to Conrad's Hold, and then from there you'll be within a couple feet of Manvark, and this will also act as a spawn point, so you can farm Manvark effectively from this spawn point. I also want to say that I had an absolute ball ache farming Manvark in order to get the Flakka. I'm sure I could bore you guys by uploading the entire 1 hour and 20-minute session of me actually farming Manvark in order to get the Flakka to drop once, but I just want to spark some confidence in people who are having a tough time to get these new post-patch dedicated drops to drop. Like I said, this gun now only has a magazine size of 1, which I suppose you could see a good side of this is that it'll only consume 1 ammo per shot opposed to the 6 that it used to, so you'll have a lot more ammo to use throughout without having to use an ammo machine in order to refill your ammo. When you shoot, there is a forced delay that you'll have to wait before the gun starts to reload automatically, but you can actually bypass this completely. When you shoot, you can then just press reload immediately and your gun will start to reload. The reload speed is actually pretty short, it's only 2.1 seconds on this specific one that I have. Admittedly, this is still slower than its pre-nerf counterpart, but it's still better than what it's forcing you to do. This weapon could come in either non-element, so just explosive, incendiary, or radiation, and each of these versions are basically good enough to use against any sort of enemies. Obviously, if you're using incendiary, then you're going to have some resistance against shields and then robotic enemies. This gun has a very steep learning curve. Obviously, when you shoot, it has a sort of set distance where the pellets will spawn and then start exploding. And when you start to use this for the first time, it might feel weird because you're shooting and the pellets are going way further behind the enemy, say if you're up close to the enemy. This sort of forces you to keep your distance from the enemies, and you'll find when you consistently use this gun that you'll sort of just adapt to always stay within a certain reach from enemies, and this distance will be the effective range of where the pellets spawn and start to explode. The gun is capable of massive damage. The damage counter on the card is a lot less than what it will actually deal. You'll find in Mayhem mode that most enemies, if you shoot it and you get an effective hit on the enemy, then they'll die no matter what. A downside I'd say is that effective range and the fact that especially enemies that will run towards you like psychos or aggro tinks, they can be very annoying to hit with this weapon because when you shoot they'll run past the effective range and the pellets will just explode and not damage the enemy. A good way to counter this is to melee enemies that will run towards you and they'll stagger, and then once you melee, jump back and then shoot, and they'll stagger long enough for the pellets to start exploding and then kill them. It's a shame this gun isn't like it once was. It was nerfed for obvious reasons because it was such an overpowered weapon, but the Flakka in its current state is still a good enough gun to pick up and use in this game. That's it for the video guys, I hope you found this useful. Make sure to subscribe for future legendary item guides on my channel, and yeah, see you in the next video.